Youts, Nuh Abti. In this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the way that I introduce myself and the way that I leave these videos when I'm recording them. So you've probably noticed that I say it differently. My intros are different each time. So what I'm doing is I'm alternating between three different ways of introducing myself. So the way I introduced myself in this video was Nuh Abti, Nuh Abti, and that essentially means I'm called Ab. So Nuh means I, Ab is my name, and then T basically means called. So I am called Ab. In other videos, I've said Ab Kilusunugwa. It's basically the same thing. Ab is my name. Kilusu means to be called. Nugwa is I, or me. So again, I'm called Ab. And there's some other times where I've introduced myself by saying Ab Tlanugwa. Ab Tlanugwa. So Ab is my name. Tla basically means called. And then Nugwa, I. So these are just three different ways of saying the same thing. So whichever one you want to use is up to you. I tend to use Nuh Abti, and that's just my personal preference. There's no right or wrong between any of these. So whichever one you're most comfortable with, that's the one you can use. So I'll just go through these a couple of times just so you can hear them again. And maybe you can repeat them and put your name in, replace my name with yours. So I'll say it a little bit slowly. This first one, Nuh Abti, Nuh Abti, Ab Kilusunugwa, Ab Kilusunugwa, Ab Tlanugwa, Ab Tlanugwa. So just a little bit about the writing system here. This small w is attached to this x. So when they're combined, they form what's called a rounded consonant. And that's why you hear no, no. So if you look at my mouth when I'm saying that last sound in the word, you notice that my lips are rounding as I'm saying it. No, no. And then T, Nuhabti. This, you see a couple of symbols over top of these vowels. These are acute accent symbols. And this tells us where we're placing emphasis in the word. You will only see these over top of vowels, and you will only see them in words that have more than one syllable. You notice there's no accent symbols at all in this first one, because these are all single syllable words. So here, the accent is over the E. When you see an E after a K, it makes a K sound. Kilasu. Kilasu. So that accent mark is telling us we're starting at a higher pitch. Kilasu. Kilasu. And depending on how you're using the word, when you're just using Nugwa, sometimes it can, the accent can be in the first syllable, Nugwa. But since this is kind of in a sentence, at the end of a sentence, I usually kind of shift the accent to the last syllable, the gwa. So you'll hear me say, Ab Kilusunugwa. So you can hear the tone of my voice rising and falling as I'm speaking. So I'm kind of following these accent marks, except when I get to this one. This one I'm kind of doing the opposite. I'm going down in tone. Nugwa. I'm putting the emphasis on the gwa part at the end. Ab Kilusunugwa. And then Ab Tlanugwa. So this symbol here, this is called a barred lambda, and it's the equivalent of a T and an L together. So some people might get confused and pronounce it more like a kl sound, like a CL or a KL, but it's actually TL, tla, tla, tlanugwa. So in order to speak the language, you really need to be able to hear the language. So what I was saying before about saying tla instead of kla, that's hearing the language. If you can hear those differences, then you'll be able to accurately produce the sounds. When you can accurately produce the sounds in the language, then you can speak it. So that's why we have these symbols. That's why we have the hybrid orthography, is because it's the best way of representing our language in written form. It has all of this information in it. Once you learn it, it's a lot easier to pronounce words and to read along to something that you haven't even seen before. You can predict how things are going to sound once you associate the sounds with these symbols. Once you learn that KE sounds like ki, kilasu. So that's the reason for that. And again, you can choose any one of these intros, whichever one you want to go with. I tend to change them in the videos just to make things a little bit different each time, but I'm alternating between these three. So you can use whichever one you are comfortable with using. And when I come to the end of a video, I haven't explained this. I think it is important to explain. So I could say escuelas. So I'll kind of explain what this phrase means. It's a little bit difficult to translate into English. So ek basically means good. This S at the end, this is a suffix. So a suffix comes at the end of a word. And this means you. So when this S is added to ek is good. Ek is good, S is you. So this means good you. Guelas. It's kind of hard to define. It's kind of like a way of being, a state of being. So when you say escuelas to somebody, you're basically saying you be in a good state, something along those lines. So it's kind of like goodbye, not exactly, but that's just the easiest way to describe it, is to say goodbye. But there's more to it than that. So this is the singular version. So if you're saying goodbye to one person, then you say escuelas. But since I'm creating videos here, this video is going out to multiple people. So one person could be watching by themselves. There could be multiple people watching together. There could be multiple people watching separately, but at the same time. So I go with the plural form of it. And the way that we pluralize this is we take this gue and we copy that syllable and we put it in front. And we take out this A here. So it becomes gui, guelas. Exquiguelas. Exquiguelas. So that's if you're saying goodbye to multiple people. That's the plural form, and that's why I say it at the end of these videos. So I figured it would be good to explain that so that it's clear to people. You say escuelas if you're saying goodbye to one person. Exquiguelas if you're saying goodbye to multiple people. So I use the plural form because I don't know how many people are going to be seeing this at one time. So I kind of use the plural form to cover all my bases. So this is one of the difficulties in translating Haisla to English, is that they don't quite match up in definitions. So escuelas is kind of the closest equivalent to goodbye. that we have in our language. And then oftentimes you'll hear me say wa, wa. So there's different meanings to this. It could mean okay. It could mean the end. A lot of the times if you hear an elder telling a story, they'll end up by saying wa. So that essentially means it's the end. It could also be a way of acknowledging something that has been said to you. So you could say, if somebody asks you to do something, you can say wa, which basically means okay, and you've acknowledged what the person has asked you to do. So I just thought I'd go over those and explain them a little bit more. So hopefully you found this video helpful. And until next time, meg squiguelas. Remember, that's plural.